Resolve enchantment ever hits the battlefield, and away we are about to go.
And a lot of the stuff that you would want to play alongside that sort of enchantment dovetails really nicely with Yorion too, because you want to play with a lot of permanents that enter the battlefield and accrue value, and then can sit around and be sacrificed for things. And the same cards happen to work very well with Yorion as well.
Yep. Agonizing Remorse. Let's take a look at the old hand. Hydroid Crisis, Uro, Jural, Growth Spiral, Temple of Enlightenment Plains, and a Breeding Pool. That's how we're going to kick this party off.
So I haven't had the experience before of covering a match where the cards are not in English.
Welcome to it.
Well, I took several years of German in high school, so I should be just fine here.
That's exciting. I also took German in high school. How did I not know you did that?
Because I've never spoken a word of it, don't recall any of it at all. It was not like a formative part of my childhood.
Okay, that'll explain it. That'll explain
why you didn't know that about me.
Okay. That's pretty telling, though. I didn't know that. That's
I bet.
That's actually
Do you know what position I played in Little League? No, right? Because it's just not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I just didn't know you played Little League.
Yeah. Second base and center field.
I was gonna guess. The only thing I was gonna do was guess not shortstop.
No, didn't have an arm. Was fast, had a glove, but no arm. So they put me at second.
A glove on him, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I was not good with the mitt. Narset is here. Ether Gust appears to be the reveal.
Got them soft hands, you know.
Oh yes, of course you do.
Just no cannon.
Well, what's that matter? That's not the important part anyway. Godless Shrine. Untapped. I love some of the cards these decks play, like Golden Egg, just hanging out. Constructed All-Star Golden Egg.
Oh yeah, the Yorion Aspral Doom Portal decks. You get a lot of oddball permanents in there. Basically, anything that's like a mana or two draws a card, or roughly draws a card and sits on the battlefield doing something or nothing, can be considered.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you get some beeps coming in.
They are.
I'm
the
getting
stinkers.
some spam from Play Design spamming my chat right now. Gotta hide them. Put them on mute.
Thank you. Thank you for letting.
That's a swang driven for duress.
Thank you for letting me go
assume.
Right now.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, you hear the beeps coming in. I get harassed when someone's like,
no one can hear the beeps but you. You know that, right?
Well, I know that now.
Yeah, no one hears beeps but you, bud. The only
Okay.
Oh God, I love you. Here comes the Narset. That's in there. That's going down. This is a copy of Ether Gust being added to the grip. Temple. Excuse me. Hollow Fountain untapped. Gonna gust that thing away right now. Kindly leave. And Nissa is now on the battlefield, however. I would argue that's a bit more problematic. Temple of Enlightenment. I'm struggling today. Temple of Enlightenment typed. I can't do it. Temple of Plenty. It's a 3/3. And now Uro is back from the graveyard. There. I'm doing better. Doom Foretold is the draw.
Does Wizards, I'm not that familiar with the arena economy, do they let you purchase something in the store that lets you turn off your opponent's Uro animations?
I'm not positive on that. You should ask them while they're dinging you right now. if that's a thing that's available, here comes a copy of Ether Gust on Nissa.
Turn off opponents' emotes.
Is that an option?
Yeah, can I do something about these emotes? The fireworks going off on the card that keeps beating me,
Oh no, I understand. I get it. All right, there's a Fabled Passage. This will be a basic island. Oh, the egg!
Oh, the egg.
Let's draw a card. Hollow Fountain. Oath? Oath can kill a land. This Doom Foretold looks especially bad this game. And
yeah, I don't get the vibe that Nicholas is going to have a tough time keeping up here.
Yeah, Doom Foretold finally taking care of Nissa. It took a little while, but got there.
I mean, 8 is kind of the magic number as far as mana goes here, because that lets you pick up and cast Ori in the same turn, and there's a whole lot of good stuff to reset.
Well, there's Crisis. This is, I think, at least in my estimation, this is another classic case, my friend, of one of these decks is just doing something more powerful than the other. In this instance, we've seen aggressive strategies like what Jim Davis brought to the table round one, just try to get underneath people before they can actually do their thing. In this instance, we're seeing definitely a more synergy-laden deck trying to do its thing. And it's doing some things that are nice. I mean, you're seeing Urian here going to come in, blink Oath, kill a land. Obviously, going to see Omen of the Sea, draw a copy of Heartless Act, 4/5 against a battlefield of 6/6 and 3/3. Trying to stabilize here, but it's there's just a difference in power level that just feels so notable sometimes, right?
I think the big thing is just that the Bant decks are so much better early in the game in terms of generating more material to work with, advancing their board. Advancing their board
Seems
position,
like he never left.
and not necessarily a deficit in the late game. You would assume that once Garcia got
Checking the graveyard out,
the point where he was resolving his big cells, he'd be getting ahead, but
looks like we're having a bit of a lag issue here, folks. Apologies. See if we can get a better connection real quick for you. Here is Teferi.
Yeah, to speak what you were saying before, Garcia absolutely the control deck in this kind of matchup, but is not necessarily favored if the game goes on for a long time. The Bant deck with cards, Elspeth Conquers Death and Hydro Crisis and Uro, Nissa can also play a deep game while also being comfortably ahead in the shorter game. That's not to say that Garcia can't win. It's just it's tough to keep your head above water the whole way through and then overpower the Bant deck, and that's the task in front of them.
And it's what I would say is a monumental one. Here's a duress now. Oh, there goes Growth Spiral. Heartless Axe. Is that going to take care of Doral? Now here's an Omen. Trigger. Take a look at the top two. Passages, no thank you. Mystery card coming. Mystery card is Disinformation Campaign. It's been a minute since I've seen that. Alright, there goes Uro.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, there might be a comeback taking place here, maybe.
What are the Surveil cards in here? What is it? Anything beyond Thought Erasure?
Doubt it. All right, Uro's back. Interesting though, like Uro in the face of Doom Foretold. I mean, it's not bad per se, because you are drawing a card, gaining some life. There's Teferi. Okay.
I mean, you run out of a graveyard eventually, right? You can't keep it going forever.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You know, it's like this weird, like kind of back and forth where you probably feel incentivized to keep bringing it back, even though you probably have to keep sacrificing it. But yeah, I think I agree with you. You can't do it forever. So Teferi's going to bounce that. Doom Foretold's going to trigger.
I remember this one from our limited Grand Prix.
Did you have it in your deck? I can't remember.
Once, yes, and another time, no.
It's a very good card. That's what I would say.
It was really good.
People did not enjoy playing against it.
It's not that fun. That's why. It wasn't for no reason. It wasn't for no reason.
It was not people's favorite play experience.
I like the cards that are like, what do you think next turn is going to look like? What do you think the turn after that's going to look like?
Yeah.
It implies a horizon that is not pleasant.
Yeah, how do you think this is going to go? Not good is the answer. All right, here we go. Big Papa Uro coming into the red zone. Trigger, gain a life. That's 30 to 8. Down to 2. It's 30 to 2. Duress is a good way to clear the path. Let's see what's going on. Get a little look at it if you can. Yeah, I was a little afraid of it. Shark Typhoon gonna cycle. You see another Shark Typhoon and Growth Spiral. So 7/7 Shark in the battlefield now. This deck
again.
Go ahead, partner.
It's what we were talking about before, is that the Bant deck is comfortably ahead in the initial turns of the game, and then not behind going late. Hydro Crisis, Shark Typhoon. There's just so many really powerful mana sinks that once Garcia gets to the point where they spend 8 mana doing something, that isn't necessarily better than what Price can do for 8 mana. And when you're behind on all the 3 and 4 and 5 mana exchanges, you know, where are you supposed to get an edge in all of this? It's really hard.
It's extremely hard. And that is going to be a win there for Ramparino. Going to win game number 1. Nicholas Price. So we take a look at the sideboards here. Shatters, Gust, Disfigures. A lot of removal. That's not really going to surprise you too much. But can you line up? Can you line up against what they are doing in a meaningful way? I think that's the big question. Because that's, I mean, look, that's hard. That's really hard to do.
I mean, look at that sideboard. That sideboard says to me that you're saying, I really need to cover my bases against aggro. I'm really well positioned for control. I've got all these planeswalkers, all these ways to draw extra cards. And post-board, I just need cheap removal because I'm expecting not to get game 1 against the aggressive strategies. If you're constructing your sideboard that way, you're kind of saying that I expect to get game 1 against all the control decks. How else could you justify constructing the deck that way? And again, as we saw, it's not a trivial task because these Simic decks have so many powerful ways to dump all their mana in a game that drags out. And Uro is part of that too, on top of all the X spells. And so, again, it's where are you actually getting your advantage here? You're going to be behind early on in the game. Can you actually pivot and trump their late game? It's not an easy thing to do.
Well, we are underway here in game number 2. The egg is golden. It's a very golden egg. Time for a Narset, perhaps? Or do we want to leave with the discard spell? We'll go to Narset, especially with a backup copy. Seems like it makes that easy enough. So there's Narset.
Narset's really important to be able to get onto an empty battlefield because assuming that you can manage opposing creatures and planeswalkers, it really shuts off a lot of what the Bant deck gets paid out in is drawing cards, whether it be Uro or cycling or Hydroid Crisis. So the static ability on Narset's really meaningful here. Part of the reason the game got away from in game number 1 was because there was a window there for Price to resolve a Nissa and take care of the Narset, and then from there Price had no problem leveraging all that card drawing ability. If the Narset was on the battlefield the whole game, the game looks very different. It's much harder for Price to just accrue all the extra cards and trump Garcia's late game.
Fabled passes the draw here. Any reason to lead out with a discard spell? How do we want to go about using that duress?
I would absolutely want to live with a discard spell here because especially Nissa, you want to make sure that there's no way for this Narset to get off the battlefield, or at least if that happens, it's on your terms, not just it getting sniped off by a Nissa that you could have taken by a discard spell.
Well, here's a hand. 3 Shark Typhoons, Nissa, 2 Elspeth Conquers Deaths, and a Teferi. So you see no land, though there is the ability to cycle a Shark Typhoon. Or 2, if you dare go that route and don't want to make the 2/2, though I'd be surprised if that were actually the case. Looks like ECD is going to bite the dust. Okay. I mean, it's hard to punch a hole in that hand. That's a really powerful hand that's just missing lands.
Yeah, that's that old heuristic that we talk about in Modern. If you have a discard spell and they got a Snapcaster Mage, unless you're doing something right now, you kind of got to take care of the Snapcaster Mage. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. Price's hand is so powerful that there's no hole to poke. The game's going to go on for a long time, and once you're there, you just got to take the card that's the most powerful in absolute terms over a long game, and I think that's pretty clearly Elspeth Conquers Death. Because anything else you take is just going to come right back.
Yep, there's Heartless Act. Looking to take care of a Shark. That'll get the job done. Here's ECD. Goodbye Narset, but there is a backup Narset there. You can also see, looks like they might be going to Doom Foretold. Okay. That'll take care of the ECD. Obviously putting a premium on taking care of that enchantment there is Garcia. Let's see what this fop is. There's Nissa. That's a powerful one. So that's going to rumble on in, make a peephole here in just a moment.
But the good news here for Garcia, yes, the Nissa resolves. That could be trouble, but it's not taking care of a Planeswalker this turn. If all these Planeswalkers do is kind of just amount to damage the turn in question, that's one thing. When they start taking care of your Planeswalkers in the course of doing other stuff, that's where the game becomes unmanageable. Yep,
I would agree with that as well. There's ECD. So, got to get rid of that Nissa. That's a problem. So that's gone. Doom Foretold's going to take care of that Narset. So, land left over. Life totals are still high here for both these players. 18 to 16.
You can just tell this game, the kind of the cadence, the rhythm of these exchanges is so much better for Garcia than it was in game number 1. It felt like Garcia was always on the back foot, trending towards neutral. And here we've seen Garcia much more neutral, trending towards foot out in front.
Yeah. Well, it's Teferi time. Mystical Dispute says, you can pay if you want. Okay, you do. And Gross Spiral in response.
And again, this is an exchange where if it goes the right way for Garcia, ceiling's very high, and the floor is also really high. You've set Price's mana back a little bit, you've reset a creature, you have a card to show for your trouble.
Looks like we're going to see an Agonizing Remorse now. And now a Narset. Teferi going to be added to the hand. Temple of Deceit, the land. Hollowed Fountain, Scry to the bottom. Mystery card coming for the next draw step. So we'll see how that goes for Garcia as we go back and forth here between these two. Shark Typhoon, well, that's huge. That'll check the Narset pretty well. Can't let that thing hang around.
But at least, again, you got a little bit something to show for it, even if the Narset... Before the previous games, it felt like the Planeswalkers were just not able to do a whole lot here. That was not great sequencing.
No.
Price did not get a card off of the Uro because the Narset was still on the battlefield.
Yeah. Well, here comes Uro now. There's Disinformation Campaign. That card, I like it with the idea of, blinking it with Yuri and everything else. It just seems a little too low power to me.
You're not looking to play Unhinge?
No. No. Here comes Dance of the Mans. Okay, well, we got ourselves a game now. Doom Foretold, Elspeth Conquers Death, Golden Egg draw card, all back on the battlefield, and there's your beatdowns too. All right, well, this game's taking a turn. Teferi's going to come down. Yuri in the draw. Okay. How about a Teferi for Nicholas Price? Excuse me, for Garcia. Bounce the Shark token. Good. Narset the draw. Island the play. Now Narset. Now Oath. We're going upstairs. Beatdowns. We don't care about Teferi. It looks like, okay, we do care about Teferi enough that we'll go that way. Okay. Activate Castle of Vantress. Price might be in trouble this game. Both cards to the bottom of the scry. Teferi dead. Price is down to 7. Well, when Garcia's deck doesn't sting, it looks good. I'll say that.
So it's easy to get
disinformation.
When you're playing these control matchups.
So looks like we're all tied up.
I think it's easy to get hung up on sort of the card advantage battle here when you're playing these control matchups, and it is that way some of the time. But both of those games, it was sort of each player's presence on the battlefield, allowing them to leverage their extra resources, be it with planeswalkers or being able to protect their own or some other element. So you can't just completely hand wave the early game, is what we've seen, I think, in these first two games. It does matter how much mana are you getting access to. Can you get some stuff on the battlefield that's relevant, or at least breaks up your opponent's ability to leverage a planeswalker? And that has been the inflection point here, for Garcia, whether that Narset has been able to be super disruptive or just a speed bump.
Game number 3 underway here now between Garcia and Price. We're going to see a growth spiral here from Price. Here's an Omen of the Sea from Garcia, who, as you can obviously see, is behind on lands. Urian and Godless Shrine, the options here. Looks like top. Alright. Island. Narset, obviously powerful. It's good. Minus. Durez, Golden Egg, Elspeth Conquers Death, and Aether Gust are the options here. It looks like the lean is going to be the discard spell, and it is. So Duress will be added to the grip. We're going to head back over to Price. Let's see if he can do something powerful. He's got 6 mana on the battlefield. You have to imagine something like a Nissa or a Teferi. Okay, there's a Planeswalker. Teferi's just going to plus. Wow, not a lot going on. I guess maybe we'll be able to get a better picture of it now with this Duress. Cycle Shark, 2/2. Mystical Dispute and Uro. Well, goodbye Dispute, hello Uro. Doesn't seem that tough to beat. There's your Fabled Passage. And it sounds like Patrick's having a little bit of difficulty with his internet connection. So I'm going to be joined by Emma Handy here in a moment, it appears. Well, if we work on that, can let you know that Teferi is going to plus up to 6. Now there's a Godless Shrine. Here comes Doom Foretold.
And this is a matchup that really harkens itself. Let's look back at that Orzhov Yorion deck from a few weeks ago that people were using to attack specifically Bant midrange. All of these incremental advantages kind of add up over the course of an entire game. You'll end up in spots where Hydroid Krasis make things look bad, but you just end up burying the opponent over the course of a long game if the Bant ramp deck can't just slam the door.
That's not Patrick at all.
No, it's not. What's up, Cedric?
Hello, Emma. How are you?
Oh, I'm not complaining. We are making up for some technical difficulties, and I'm excited to get to cover one of High Banana Fish's rounds here.
Yeah, I'm digging this Esper Doom Foretold deck, and it's an interesting deck because, especially how it's composed and what you're trying to beat. Because with the format being so Growth Spiral based, can you go toe to toe with a control deck that is not green, that doesn't have Uro, that doesn't have Nissa, that doesn't have Wilderness Reclamation? And apparently the answer might be yes. And here's a Teferi.
Yeah, whenever you aren't leaning into cards that are quite as weak as Burglar Rat and you're actually attacking from a different angle, I know how it sounds. You end up with these situations where you can play your Yorions and make them more powerful than they would be otherwise when you get to these later stages of the game because your cards work, even if your opponent is empty-handed.
Doom Foretold looks like it's going to trigger here in just a moment. You might have that trigger on the stack still. Wants to take care of that Nissa, but might not get the opportunity. Looks like Price might be doing some responding.
I think it's just a colossal shark off of this Shark Typhoon in hand.
Okay.
Wanting to leave enough mana for Uro at the end of all of it, but I think that's what we're going to see here.
All right. It'll be a 4/4 shark, and Nissa's going to bite the dust. And then your assumption is Uro at the end of it. Might be a land short. Okay, well, there's the land. And there's the Uro. Okay. Well, folks, we're about to have some true live television fun.